Bismillah. When something has been inculcated in a person, when it is deep down in his heart, it is part of his system, then it happens without having to think about it, that what has to be done, what is the right thing to do, what is the right response. If a person has humility within him, then whatever the situation might be, the reaction would be with humility. There won't be the lines of humility will not be crossed. If the person has generosity in him, then whenever the moment demands it, he won't have to be thinking deeply within himself. That will immediately bring out that generosity. If a person has forgiveness in him, then that won't require thinking deeply before he comes to that point. So whatever a person has within him, that will come to the fore whenever the need demands it. And that is when it will really become apparent what is inside. And likewise the opposite. If a person has vulgarity in him, then when the situation suddenly comes up out of the blue, where somebody has said something, done something which upset him, then that what's inside will suddenly just come out. So this is the very important thing, that to inculcate the right qualities. Because when we are tested out of the blue, then the inside exposes itself. Hazrat Rashid Ahmad Gangohi Rahmatullah Alayhi was an extremely senior person, the head of the whole train of the ulama of Deoband, person of very high caliber. He was once teaching in the courtyard of the masjid, and it was hot, it was probably summer, and he was teaching in the courtyard of the masjid, so open courtyard, and suddenly out of the blue it started raining. So sometimes it happens that just in a moment suddenly there's huge drops of rain coming. So as soon as this started, the students all, out of concern now that the kitabs are going to get wet, they immediately grabbed the kitabs and picked the kitabs up, etc., and they quickly rushed into the masjid section, which was covered, so that the kitabs and so on are not soiled and does not get wet. Now, in that moment, nobody was too aware of what the next person is doing. Everybody was concerned about taking the kitabs and running in. But as they all came in, now they are looking at ways of Gangohi Rahmatullah Alayhi. At that moment now, when they started looking, they realized he had a little shawl of his at that time. He was busy putting everybody's shoes into that shawl and bringing it so that it doesn't get wet. Now in that moment, his mind went to something which a person can't sit and think about at that time, that let me decide to do something else. It was a spontaneous thing, which was the reaction of what is within him. What was within him was that I am the servant of everyone. I am nobody's ustad here, though he was, and he was the ustad of the asatiza, but this was the feeling within him, that I am nobody, I am just a servant here. So this was the caliber of the personality at that time, and we need to now reflect upon ourselves, that sometimes we are really just still, early steps, but we don't have that yet, that if somebody has, if there's some moment to serve somebody or do something, so this is beyond us, this is against our dignity, that we should be doing something for somebody else. This is far away from this aspect of humility. So all these qualities are things that we have to inculcate deeply within our system. And when that has been deeply inculcated, and it happens as a process, a person has to push himself to do the right thing. Initially, it will be with takalluf. It will be a person forcing himself to do it, forcing himself to think in the correct manner, forcing himself to make the correct choices. But as that continues, in time it becomes part of his nature and becomes spontaneous.
Allah Allah कैसा प्यारा नाम है, आशिकों का मीना और जाम है।